Hey, Heather, why was it a mistake to have a bar at our wedding?
All right. I'm gonna tell you. We had our wedding on New Year's Eve, which works for us for several reasons, but also because it meant we could basically just have a giant party for all of our with all of our friends, and then the family is also allowed to come. They
That's how she looked at it. I want to be fair.
Your family was fine.
They really are.
So, but the when you get married, there's a bunch of opinions people have about what you should do. I mean, they have those opinions all the time, but now they're real coming out of the woodwork. And the one that we managed to fight off was you should have a dance floor. And I was like, no, I don't think you know any of us. We did tables laid out and we all played board games all night and we did that. But there was this thing of like, you should have a bar, and not just a bar, a cash bar, because everybody makes money back at their wedding at a cash bar. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. Sure. We're having a party in the middle of the night where it's cold because there will be snow outside and people will have to get home, so they likely will not want to drink. Also, many of our friends don't actually like to drink.
Right.
And but we do recognize that it's New Year's, so we were planning to have like a bottle of wine for every table so that everyone can have the drink. And there's as tradition if they wish.
And the justification of, even though that we don't drink, the justification of the fact is like, yes, but not everybody will drink to excess. And also somebody will drink and whoever they've come with will not drink, and that will be fine. And then they can drive that person home. Like, you just let people be adults and figure their own stuff out. It's like, okay. So
but so we were like, fine, all right. We got Ian to set up the bar for us because I don't really drink and Beej doesn't drink, so it was like, I don't know what you're supposed to have at one of these.
Yeah. So Ian's all about responsible choices.
Yeah.
So I think that was wise. Yeah.
So Ian set it up. I think your brother manned it. A couple of people manned it.
Yep.
And we.
I don't remember if we made it a cash bar or not. Did we?
No, we did. We made it a cash bar because if you wanted the free drink, that was what the table wine was for.
Oh, everybody got a drink ticket, I think is how it worked out, and you could buy more tickets.
But essentially, it got a bunch of things got opened for like a drink, which meant they could not be returned, and not enough got drunk for like, we had a whole bunch of alcohol left over that neither of us would drink. Of course,
Ian did the right thing of what you do with a bar like this, is that you buy your initial bottle and you buy the bottle of the same as backup, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to buy one bottle of vodka, I'm going to buy another bottle of vodka as a backup. It's like, okay, that's fine. We have 50 people coming to this thing. So it's like, let's just have, just in case people want to drink vodka, we have a bottle of vodka and another bottle of vodka. We buy 2 bottles of rum, that'll be fine. We'll buy 2 bottles of there's like, basically, I think we had about 12 bottles of alcohol overall. But like you say, only 6 of them got opened.
Yeah, a bunch of them get opened. We were able to return some, but again, it was just like, it was this constant argument of everybody makes money back at their cash bars, and like, we will not, and we don't have to, and we should just not have one. And fine, and we will do that. And I think we basically just let Ian have anything that was left over.
Well, ultimately we took everything home. I said to Ian, take all the full bottles and please return them return them back to the store because they're unopened. He's like, yeah, that's not a problem. We can do that. I believe he did that.
Return them to Princess Auto. Let them know we don't need these anymore.
Exactly. And then the open bottles, I was like, they're coming home with us. We'll put them in our liquor cabinet, which is the space above your stove that you keep things in that you don't access that often. So everything went into the liquor cabinet. Yeah. You close the thing. And then when we moved out here, I think it was when we moved out here, is that I said to Ian, I'm like, I have a bar in my house that I don't need any of this of. Do you want it? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, great. So I gave him the 6 bottles that we had never touched since they had come back and gave them to him. And he was like very happy to have all, because he picked out the alcohol. I said, pick out stuff that you think you would enjoy, that you also think other people would enjoy. And he's like, sure. So he liked all the stuff that we got. And I was like, great. Yeah. That's a long game to play to get free alcohol, I think.
Oh, I don't think, I mean, we weren't arguing with Ian.
He never returned those other bottles. He just drank them.
Well, he could have, as far as I know.
There were a bunch of things like that. I think the bar was the one that we really actually gave way to. And I was like, well, okay.
I should have just said to people who were drinking that night, that's like, if you want to take home any of the alcohol, and you want to pay us for the difference or make us an offer.
Again,
like
most of the people we had there would not have done that.
No, it's true.
Wow.
This is a I was right and everybody else was wrong story. And you cannot try to make this a other people can be right story.
Yeah, it's fair.
You can't retroactively do that to me.
I've been to weddings where like, oh, it was a mistake to have a cash bar, but on the opposite end of it, like the needle going the other way.
Right.
Of like, you know, and then he yardsed over the inside of an Uber and then we found him sleeping under the stairs, like those kinds of stories. I've never heard it like we got an open bar and there's a mistake. Oh, why? Well, because nobody drank and we wasted money.
There were 6 drinks total.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
It speaks well to your group of friends that they could be stone cold sober at your wedding. You know, that's the ideal.
I guess nobody had any like they weren't trying to drink away their sadness.
Yeah, forever hold your peace.
Yeah, I mean the thing started really late at night. We actually did the reception first because the actual ceremony was happening at midnight. That kind of thing.
Cute.
So did you technically get married on like, you know, 0000?
Yes.
On New Year's Day and then just party leading up. Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, 0101 000000. I don't
Nice.
Yeah, I don't care what anything else shows. It's like that's the actual this is the point. It was like
that's a real achievement.
I tell you, when you do a timing thing like that, and the ceremony starts going on because you're trying to hit that exact timing, and it doesn't work out, and then you have to do vamping at your own wedding. that is the roughest. That is the hardest.
We had to vamp for 3 minutes, which means I had to be like, "This is always death." I had to go to the audience. You know, we had to vamp for. You're right. We had to vamp for like 5 whole minutes.
I had to do at least
congregation at the wedding. They're not an
audience. And I'm like, does anyone have anything they want to say before we actually finish this sucker? Because
nobody in the audience was saying anything, so I had to talk.
I think my mother ended up speaking up, which was good. So
maybe,
yeah,
I don't remember.
I
just remember the stuff I had to do, and I don't do good. All of a sudden, having to do thing I did not plan out like that.
So. That's good.
I'm sorry. I saw someone in the chat just say wedding stories are one of the biggest reasons they have no inclination to want to get married. That thing that they say where it's like what was it? The wedding is for your guests is what I got told by some people who were like who definitely were like arguing things that I didn't want to have at the wedding.
Whereas
and I was like, I don't think so. If you don't like my wedding, you don't have to come.
Yeah, that's what someone told me is your wedding is like your funeral. It's for the other people. It's not about the person whose name's on the pamphlet.
I keep saying idol master. I mean idol manager. I'm sorry.
That's because idol master's a different thing.
It's a different
brand.
names are similar, right? So because what I was told was it's like your wedding is for your parents.
Nope.
And I was like, that makes sense to me. Nope. I can totally understand that. But I wanted to have a wedding and I wanted to have an event.
It's not to say I don't want like your parents or my parents even to have a bad time at the wedding or not have like maybe some input. But it's as far as I'm concerned, it's not for them. They had theirs.
Yeah. I did at least get to man, did I save money? left, right, and center. We had a great wedding, I think. And in retrospect, I'm like, surely we could have like done even more, dropped another $500 on decorations and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, we could have done that. But we decorated and I like the way it came out and the pictures look really good. And you can always put more money into all sorts of other things. But one thing I was very happy with is we made it potluck. And because we did our reception before we did the wedding, it meant that people showed up. And you're showing up to a meal. So show up at 5 o'clock so we can get all the food out. And we borrowed your aunt and uncle's chafing dishes. So we were able to keep stuff warm. And they brought them up. They offered like, can we bring these up? I'm like, that would be great. That can be your contribution. And people were like, we're going to bring ham. Okay. We're going to bring turkey. We're going to bring potatoes. I let my mother organize what all that should look like and put her in charge of make sure that the food thing is operating properly. And I had a cousin who was a chef. So he came in to ensure that I'll make sure everything is carved really nicely and it all looks really good. I'm like, thank you for volunteering to do that for us. And it's like, yeah, I like that idea because I like potlucks. I like coming to a thing and trying other people's food from their families. I want to know what that's going to be like. And it really, to me, felt like that's a really good way to get to know everybody else in your family, to get to see what are the things, how do they cook stuff, how do they like their food, you
Yeah.
know. And yeah, that was I would recommend that to anybody who's like, I'm trying to find a way to save on stuff. I'm like, find a way to do a potluck for your reception instead of having to go to a place and paying $25 $30 a plate for like 100 people. I'm like, no, let people bring their own food, because then they'll make sure it's good. And then you can all get food poisoning together.
Yeah. It's a little souvenir, a little takeaway
Yeah.
present. Yeah.
We definitely, when Daniel and I got married, did the wedding more for our family than for us. At least that was my like express intent, because I don't like being the center of attention, and it felt like too much of being the center of attention.
Yeah.
But we married pretty young, and if I were to do it over again, it would absolutely be like courthouse wedding, bare bones, just like I still kind of have that mentality of the wedding is for the parents or whoever's paying for it, like, because it wasn't me. I was a baby when we were in our early 20s when we got married. So it was just like, yeah, sure, the wedding's for the moms, sure, whatever. But the marriage is for me. So that's the part that I care about.
That's fair.
And at the end of the day, we were married, and that was the important bit. It was also like, it was a nice wedding. But Daniel's father had passed away suddenly in a car accident thing just 6 months before the wedding. And we considered putting it off. But he had been a pediatrician in the community that we were in for most of Daniel's life. And it really did become more of a community thing. Like the church we were married in was donated. The space was donated by one of his patient's parents, was the pastor there, kind of thing. And it ended up being more of a chance for the community to come together again to celebrate his dad in a way.
Yeah.
That's great.
Good
for them.
Well, I mean, it's your wish not to be the center of attention, you know.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, I
for
mean,
sure.
But we also have this cool thing with our wedding rings. When you were talking about your iron ring,
Yes.
my ring has both white gold and yellow gold, and it's not going to focus. But the yellow gold is in 2 strips on the outside edges of the white, and Daniel's is white with a core of yellow on the inside. And the yellow gold came from his father's medical band.
Wow.
The ring from his medical.
That's really cool.
Band. Yeah.
Wow.
So just kind of nice little thing to have there. But
yeah.
I've
known a lot of people, like sort of the modern approach seems to be they do the courthouse wedding. And then they go on basically like a reception tour. They have like a reception, like a small party for their friends in this town, and then a small party in their hometown friends, and then a small party for their family, and just kind of compartmentalize all of them so that you don't have to do the stressful thing of designing a party for everybody in your life, in your, your history and your present life. And I just think that's a very sort of sophisticated way to do it. Sort of low stress, and then at the end of the day, you're still married. You've gotten the most important thing out of the way.
Yeah. I've also seen some people do a ceremony, but they've already done all the paperwork at the courthouse. Like, so it's a little bit more than just the reception, but that they don't want to think about that because that can be stressful too. The paperwork portion at the wedding.
Yeah. Even like the name change thing.
that.
Remember when we signed the initial license? Because in Alberta, you sign all your license papers initially, but that doesn't mean you're married because you need a commissioner to actually sign off on it. But you need to submit everything so they can actually send the right things to your commissioner and whatever it was. So anyway, they said to Heather, like, okay, so are you keeping your last name or are you changing it? And there was that moment we both kind of paused. And the one behind the camera says, "This is the only shot you're going to get at a free name change from the government." That was literally how she contextualized it.
Yeah. Totally true.
Which made me feel like, so you could change it to anything.
I think you could.
I think you can.
Yeah.
Like, I think you can straight up just whatever.
Yeah. Rocket Pants Baboon Deary. That's me.
She took my name, but then took a whole bunch of other names.
Those
I
are
looked through
secret.
the newspaper and went, "That's a good one."
I couldn't decide. There were so many choices.
Oh my goodness.
I do recognize like the family element though.
Yeah.
Out of everybody really wanted to come to our wedding, it was my grandmother because she was getting really old,
Mhm.
and I'm glad that she was around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with my grandparents too. I'd already lost most of the grandparents early. Grandparents pass away because people pass away. They die. That's what happens to people. We only live so long. And so my grandparents on one side had already passed away.
Oh, I would have
Couple of
loved it
years
if your
before.
nan was around.
It would have been sweet. I would have really liked that too.
I liked
but
your nan.
you know, things happen. And so yeah, but my other grandparents were still alive. And it was like, I'm glad I have an opportunity to, I'm just fixing my face. I'm glad I have an opportunity to have them there at the wedding. In fact, we got some really good pictures of my grandparents there. And when my grandfather passed away, we used one of the photos of him at our wedding for his funeral pamphlet. Because it's like, it's such a good shot of him. And I was like, well, all right, let's get the Photoshop out and start really like making touch-ups to this. But yeah, it was a really good starter photo of him. So
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
at my grandfather's funeral. That was, and he was a wedding photographer, and so that his sort of casket portrait was from his daughter's wedding was like, mwah,
Oh,
great.
that's awesome.
Yeah, photos are photos, right? It doesn't, you know, it's you don't have to think about them and it's like, oh, you can't use this. It was at the wedding. It's like, why? It's a good shot of him.
It feels as though weddings of our generation, the wedding album contains, the sort of stage, the seated portraits of the family in the chapel or on some grass or wherever it is.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
But then there's also a lot of flash photos of people just going ham on the dance floor, which I don't remember from my parents' generation.
Right.
Just
My
with their
parents-
ties all akimbo and like, dancing to the hits of the day.
My parents'
Um,
wedding was like so much more low key than what weddings have become, though.
Yeah, the
Like-
I
wedding
mean,
industrial
the
complex.
industry's
Yeah.
really like
The industry's
gone
really
up,
like
and
built
I
up
feel
around it.
like we like to make fun of bridezillas and weird
Yeah.
weddings in Hawaii and things that seem very eccentric to me, because I can't picture trying. Mostly, I just can't picture the amount of work to plan all that together. And I guess at that point, you really do get like a wedding planner to do that for you. But
Like planning an event from a distance.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just sounds like so much work.
that sounds really hard.
Like,
Yeah.
nope.
I know. I've been asked like, are you guys gonna do a dance at your wedding? I'm like, no, because we don't dance. We're not
Mhm.
going to have a first dance or anything else like that. It didn't really seem to make sense to us to have a dance for no reason. And also because, well, you're going to have your reception and then you're going to have a piece in the middle of that until we're leading up to the actual. So it's like we had the reception, then we had the entertainment, and then we had the actual ceremony. And because the ceremony was going to end when it was going to end, right? It's like, it's going to be done at like 20 after, like midnight. People are like, man, I think I want to go home. And it's like, we're just, please, like, stick it out. Just wait until because it's something cool's going to happen, right? We're going to get married. So trust me on this.
Partial
Put the
credit.
thing you came for at the end, so you would stay for the whole movie.
Exactly. And but what it meant was that, so the Heather's processional music was the same as the recessional music, where we both left together. And so we walked down the aisle and we got to it was Didn't It Rain by Yoko Kanno. It's one of my favorite pieces she's done. So it's hammered dulcimer all up in
You
this.
gotta find the
Ah,
geekiest
yeah.
thing that
Fill
can get
this
by
room
your
with
parents.
dulcimer.
Yeah, if you want, I mean, yeah, I love that song so much. And it's from the Arjuna soundtrack, and I love that show as well. Anyway, for the recessional, we basically came down, we walked all the way to the end, and like through everybody else, and they applauded whatever, and then we stood there and everyone else peeled off and walked down towards
we made them
us.
hug us all on the way out.
Yeah. As they were leaving, they all came and they all got to say, hey, congratulations, good for you, hugs and whatever. And it's like, we still have time to get photos if you want to stick around for photos. But everyone came out, and half of the crowd was like, it is time to go home. And so they just walked through us, walked all the way to the coat room, got their coats and said, thank you so much. And then went outside and drove home at like 12:30 at night in an Edmonton snowstorm. And it was like, this is exactly what I wanted this to be. The thing is over now. And everyone left.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's the objective. Like the best weddings are a statement to each of your respective families as to who you are now. Like,
Yeah.
just kind of, it's like a coming out party of sorts, of just like, this is the kind of weirdo that we are.
Yeah.
You know, deal with it. It's legal now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting some great photos with the people who are like, we're going to stick around a bit so we can have photos with you on stage. And as everyone's milling about and having a conversation, because now it's like the wedding is over. Now it is, we're going to clean up tomorrow. And we did. We had to come in and help clean up.
Yeah, we
the
had to
next
come
day,
back and clean.
And yeah, and I'm never paying $450 for a cake again.
Oh, please, we're not doing that story.
Don't do it.
We're not. We're just not.
I'm not.
I don't care which of you challenge it. It ain't
It's
happening.
just getting rejected. Yeah.
Because I'd kind of like to move on from wedding talk.
Sure.
To be honest.
Sure.
That sounds